Hey there! Hi, kooky kids. I hope you guys are having a good week, that you're finding ways to stay entertained and to get energy and to have lots of fun. I know that things are a little bit crazy right now, creepy or a little bit kooky. The whole world's just a little bit different right now, right? You can't go out so much, you're not going to think, but that's okay. We are very lucky to live in a time where we don't have to just sit home and be bored. We have the internet. We can watch crazy animal videos, creepy and kooky creature videos, and we can have a lot of fun together. So here we go. Just like I did last week, I have recorded the class for you here. I hope that I got the sound better. I tried to turn all of the videos up, but if you find that the sound just isn't working very well when you watch my recording, go ahead and shut this recording off, and I've put a list to all of the videos in the comments of the YouTube video that you're watching right now. So if you can't hear it very well in my video, just forget that and just go ahead and click on the different videos that are down in the comments and watch them. And then make sure that your parents read the email message I sent, because that tells you other things that I want you to know. So some of the creatures that we're going to talk about today are fuzzy. Some of them are deadly. And, well, they're deadly if you're really small. All of them have more than 2 legs. One of them likes to carry dead bodies around. Creepy, right? Any ideas yet? Okay, here's a hint. Most of the animals we're talking about today are creepy. And yes, they are animals. Some of you may say, ew, when you hear what the topic is. Brett, I'm looking at you. And a few others that I know are going to say, ew, but just hold on. To make it fun, I also mixed in a few cute creatures of different types, just to make sure that everybody finds something to enjoy in today's video. Today, we are talking about a few different creatures, but our main topic is about the very small creatures, very tough creatures, creatures with exoskeletons, creatures with multiple legs, and creatures with antennas. You guessed it, right? I know you did. Today we're going to talk about insects, which we sometimes call bugs. And hold on, before you moan and groan. Like I said, I knew a few of you would be excited about bugs, and I knew a few of you wouldn't, so I'm mixing in some other videos that are not bugs that you're going to enjoy, so just hang tight. So I know that, we don't always think of insects as cute and cuddly, but insects are important, and they're interesting, and they deserve our respect. So hang on tight and let me convince you that insects are not just creepy, but they're also kooky and cool. So, and like I said, at the end, well, actually throughout, I have a few bonus videos along the way. So I guarantee you are going to enjoy at least some of these videos. Now, let's learn a little bit about entomology. What's entomology? Well, the science of bugs, of course. So here goes. Let me pull up our first video. Here we go.
Are you one of those people who hate these little crawling things? Or maybe these ones with the stingers creep you out more? Have you ever wished that all the insects would just die out? Picnics would be much more pleasant, and so would gardening. Could the world become a better place if insects disappeared? Or would this have terrible consequences, not obvious for us at first glance? This is What If, and here's what would happen if all insects disappeared from the planet. If you think bugs only exist to give you the creeps and to chew on the lettuce in your garden, you're wrong. Well, not totally wrong. Some of them are, in fact, meant to destroy crops, give you skin irritations in addition to painful stings, and even worse, spread diseases like Zika and malaria. But 90% of them are not only harmless, but beneficial to us and to the planet. They say without insects, the world would fall apart. Just how bad would that be? If we put all the insects on the planet together on a scale, they would weigh approximately 300 times more than all humans combined. If you have insectophobia, you probably want me to stop right here. Just let me add that the ants alone would weigh more than all humans. If our planet suddenly had all this weight off its shoulders, farmers would be the first to celebrate. they'd no longer need to pour chemicals on their crops to save the harvest from hungry pests. But that celebration wouldn't last long, because without insects, we'd all starve pretty fast. And no, we don't mean that those bold adventurers who snack on crickets and grasshoppers somewhere in Thailand would starve. Humans might be predators in the food chain, but insects are the ones to hold this chain together. They are food for some reptiles, small birds, and frogs. If all insects vanished, those animals would cease to exist too. The animals feeding on frogs and reptiles would be the next to die off, and then the ones further up the chain. Eventually, this disruption would work its way up to humans. Think you could survive by going vegan? Wrong again. 80% of all plant life on the planet is made up of flowering plants, meaning they require pollination to reproduce. Insects are the ones who make this happen by physically transferring pollen from a male anther to a female stigma. You can argue that birds and bats, even wind, can pollinate too, but most of the work is done by bees, wasps, moths, butterflies, and flies. Without them, it's game over for most plants. Depending on what your food preferences are, 50 to 90% of your diet comes from those flowering plants. There would be no fruit, no vegetables, no rice, and no wheat. This also means no food for cows, chickens, most freshwater fish, and all the animals we humans eat. It doesn't matter if you're a vegetarian or a meat lover. If the insects disappeared, you'd have no chance of long-term survival. You'd be left to slowly starve on a planet heaped up with piles of organic waste. Because not only do insects feed small animals and pollinate plants, they're also major decomposers of dead stuff, from leaves to corpses. Ugh. That wouldn't be the world you'd want to live in. And, to be honest, not all the insects are gross-looking, wouldn't you agree? Join us next time on What If?
So there you go. Does that give you maybe just an itsy-bitsy, tiny bit more of an appreciation for insects? I mean, I know you might think they're a little bit gross, but without them, life would end. And not just pause and be a little more stuck in your house like it is now. It would really eventually end. So, now that doesn't mean that we can't try to keep bugs out of our house, because certainly, some of you know, I am not a big fan of bugs, especially certain types of bugs. But definitely, they are something that is important and necessary for us, even if we don't like them ruining our picnics or coming around our house. So let's learn a little bit now. I mean, you think you know what a bug is, right? But let's watch a video on what is an insect and see if we can learn a little bit more.
We live in a world of insects. Insects are animals. There are more different types of insect than any other animal on Earth. We call these different types species, and around 1 million species of insect have been discovered so far, and scientists think there may be up to 10 million species in total. Insects are arthropods, which means they have legs with joints, bodies in segments, and a hard outer covering called an exoskeleton, like having your skeleton on the outside, like a suit of armor. Insects have 3 pairs of legs and a body divided into 3 sections. A head with eyes, mouth parts and antennae, a thorax containing muscles where the legs and wings are attached, and an abdomen containing stomach and breathing tubes. Insects are invertebrates, animals without a backbone. They are the only invertebrate that can fly. The insect body has allowed them to live in most land habitats around the world. Insects have been around since before the dinosaurs and are still here in huge numbers today. They truly are the little things that run the world.
There you go, the little things that run the world. Kind of a cool way to think about it. So that first video about what would happen if insects die out, that kind of answered this question, but I still want to take just another minute to really look at why are insects important.
Insects are everywhere. They come in very different shapes, sizes and colors, which allows them to live in almost every habitat. Insects have an important role in the food web. Without insects, our lives would be very different. They pollinate many of our fruits, flowers and vegetables. They are food for amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals. And they feed on lots of living and dead mouth parts and body shapes. Some insects are predators that hunt other animals. Others are herbivores that eat plants. And some live as parasites on or inside other animals. Others are scavengers and eat whatever they find in their environment. Lots of insects help to break down waste. Without them, dead animals, dead plants and poo would start to build up and make a real mess. Most insects are not pests. Unfortunately, most people know more about the few insects that cause problems than the others that benefit the natural world. Insects help keep the balance of nature.
And that is a really good point, that there are a small amount of insects that cause us problems, right? We have a lot of problems in our house. We get these tiny little ants. They call them ghost ants or sometimes sugar ants. They're these itsy bitsy little ants that you can't barely even see. And I don't know how they get in, but somehow they get into our house and they get into our cat food. We've had to move our cat food all over the house trying to find a different place to keep it where it won't always get infested by ants. So I am not a big fan of ants just because I don't like them in my stuff all the time. And you guys know, really, from being around the playground at Think, we know that we get a lot of biting ants here in Florida, and that's lousy. But ants also, how many creatures have you ever heard about or talked about or thought about that eat ants? I mean, there are a lot of creatures that live on ants. Reptiles live on ants. All the reptiles that we have in Florida, most of them eat ants. Definitely the lizards and all those little geckos that we see around everywhere, they eat ants. There's all kinds of birds eat ants. Then, of course, you've even got bigger mammals like anteaters and stuff that eat ants. So without ants, you would be missing a lot of food for those animals. So even though they gross you out and they seem a little inconvenient, they are super important. So one thing that I wanted to look at too is, did you know that people who study ants have, or not ants, I'm sorry, people who study bugs have a very specific name. They are called entomologists. So let's watch just a really quick 1-minute video on what this is.
An entomologist is a scientist who studies insects and their lives. Some entomologists may look at how insects behave. Some study where insects live. Some look at insect pests and the diseases they carry, and others try to describe new insect species that are discovered. There are even entomologists that help solve crimes by studying dead bodies and the insects that live on them. Entomology is the study of insects and their relationship to humans, the environment, and other living things. Entomology is a very old science, dating back to the beginning of biology in ancient Greece. Humans have had an interest in the insect world for centuries, thanks to pests and the need to produce food. Many people have jobs as entomologists, but even more people study insects as a hobby in their spare time. Whatever insects an entomologist works with, they are helping us to understand the little things that run the world.
The little things that run the world. So now let's go into a few specific examples of some of those little things. Now this first one is going to be a little creepy. Have you ever heard of a Venus flytrap? I bet a lot of you have, and you're probably wondering why there's a picture of a shark on the screen right now, but you'll see in a minute. So what I have here, I'm about to play, it's an 8-minute video, so it's a little bit long, or wait, maybe it's a 5-minute video, but it's a little bit long, and this one is a video about what would happen if you were trapped inside a Venus flytrap. Now I know that sounds scary, but you're not going to get trapped inside a Venus flytrap, right? If you've ever seen these plants before, you know that they do in fact eat flies. They eat meat. They are carnivore plants. It's crazy. But their little heads are smaller than your thumb. And no, they couldn't even eat your thumb. You could put your finger on it and they could shut their mouth and you would have no trouble pulling your finger back out. So This video's kind of trying to be funny by saying, they're just saying, let's look at a Venus flytrap let's learn about it by imagining what would happen if you were eaten by it. So don't get scared and don't get upset. It's just a funny, interesting way to learn about this very unique and interesting plant that actually eats meat. Okay? If you're afraid this is going to be too scary, you can just fast forward this video a few minutes, but it's going to be fine. So let's watch.
Nature has many lethal predators who would love to eat you. Most of these are animals. But what about plants? Well, there's one plant that thrives in boggy areas and has a taste for insects. The Venus flytrap. What would happen if a giant one trapped you? Could you survive? How long would it take to be fully consumed? And do Venus flytraps actually like the taste of humans? This is What If, and here's what would happen if you were swallowed by a Venus flytrap. In some of our other videos, we've looked at what would happen if you were swallowed by a whale, or even an anaconda. Well, how about a carnivorous plant? Venus flytraps mainly get their energy from the soil, but to stay healthy, they need to eat a few insects per month during the growing season. Okay, so you're not an insect, but a giant flytrap might not be able to tell the difference. So how exactly would it eat you? The Venus flytrap has 3 stiff trichomes that are like sensitive hairs on each of its inner leaves. When they get touched, the plant gets interested. But it won't snap shut immediately. If a little piece of dirt or a leaf lands on it, the plant will ignore it and stay open. But when something or someone bends these hairs more than 3 times, like a fly or a terrified human, its mouth snaps shut, trapping its prey. This trapping motion is called thigmonesty, and it's very nasty indeed. In this scenario, you'd probably want to play dead for about 12 hours. If you're lucky and very still, the trap might open. But what if you weren't so lucky? Once you're in its grasp, the Venus flytrap will stay shut to keep bacteria out of its leaves. It squeezes tightly around you while secreting an antiseptic juice to stop you from turning rotten. You'd essentially be pickled. Yummy. Once inside, you would be completely sealed, like some sort of biological coffin. With little oxygen, you'd probably pass out pretty soon. If you try to escape, any movement will provoke the plant to start producing enzymes and highly acidic digestive fluid. These enzymes will absorb any sodium you might have in your body, helping the Venus flytrap transport nutrients. Plants generally don't like sodium, but the flytrap needs it to survive. Humans are also rich in phosphorus and nitrogen, which are vital to the plant's survival and lacking in its natural environment. After about 5 to 12 days of digesting you, the plant would be back open for business. Whatever's left of you would likely be washed away by the rain or blown away by the wind. So what makes the Venus flytrap so appealing to its prey? Well, the plant produces a sweet nectar that's irresistible to bugs, making the flytrap a perfect natural insecticide for gardeners that want to avoid adding chemicals to their plants. If there are a lot of mosquitoes where you live, it might be a good idea to plant a bunch of these around your home. Some companies have tried selling the flytrap's extract as a homeopathic supplement, claiming that it fights all kinds of ailments. But these claims have been mostly debunked, so don't get trapped into thinking it will solve your medical problems. The real question is, could scientists actually grow one big enough to eat a human? Well, they'd have to manipulate the plant's DNA. It would take a 120-foot-long flytrap to catch a 6-foot human, which probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. Flytraps have been known to die from severe indigestion when fed ground beef, so chances are they wouldn't find you very tasty either. Frankly, I'd be more concerned about falling into a pool of piranhas. But that's a story for another What If.
And we won't be watching that one, because that actually does sound a little bit creepy, doesn't it? So that's really cool, right? Especially, I thought it was pretty neat, the idea that they don't like ground beef, that they get an upset stomach if you feed them ground beef. So, very interesting. And if they don't want to eat a big old chunk of ground beef, they definitely don't want to eat you. But isn't that cool also how they have those little hairs inside? Because I always thought that. I thought, how come the wind doesn't make them snap shut? Or when a little leaf blows on them? So now you know. They're actually programmed to wait until they are sure that something's really moving around. So, pretty cool. Now, this is a couple of minute video showing a little guy hatching, turning into a caterpillar, then morphing into a garden tiger moth that is really unique looking. So I hope that you guys will find this video pretty cool. I'm going to give you a little spoiler. He's furry at the end, and pretty cool looking. I think this one's just music. I don't think anybody's talking, but look at this little guy. Okay, he's gross. There's no doubt about it. Oh, let me shut this ad off. I know he's gross, but oh, look at him though with all that crazy hair. The hair makes him cute, right? Because hair makes everything cute. Looks like he's getting hairier. He's eating his veggies and growing up, and he's getting hairier. And darker. Oh, look, he's practically a teddy bear now. Tell me you don't want to hug that. Ooh, look, he just shed his skin. That's how he got so much hairier. He grew up and he shed that old yucky skin. And now he's got a new plush fur coat with weird looking balls all over him. And he's eating because he's got to store up a lot of energy so he can turn into a moth. You know, it's hard work growing wings. You try. Let's turn the sound down just a little. Oh, okay, he's decided it's time. He wants to be a moth. He's weaving himself a cocoon. Now he's inside of a chrysalis. There he is. With his old skin next to the chrysalis. And here we go, he's gonna hatch. This is kind of creepy. Not gonna lie. His chrysalis is breaking apart. Now, what do you think this guy's thinking? Do you think he's like, I was a caterpillar and now I am a big, beautiful moth? I wonder if he knows what just happened. Look at that. Look at those wings, look almost like leather. They look kind of like a cow pattern. And look at how furry his body's still all furry. Now, come on, this is cool looking, right? That's a cool one. I think that is just so neat. Now, I promised you guys that I would occasionally put in something that was not bug related so you could have a little break. So that we were just watching the garden tiger moth. So what else would we watch next except some wild baby tigers? Are you guys ready? You want to watch some wild baby tiger cubs? All right, check it out.
Our story begins with a tantalizing glimpse announcements of something very special. A cub, just 10 days old. Wild cubs as young as this have never been filmed before. For their first 6 weeks, most cubs usually hide away in their dens, hardly glimpsing daylight. These are unusually adventurous. They seem totally unaware of the dangers. Although their eyes are just opening, they won't see clearly for another 6 weeks. They're the mother's first litter, and they're going to be quite a test for her. The tigers must pick them up by the scruff of the neck. It's a delicate operation. A little too much pressure, and she'll hurt her cub.
Don't worry, she's not gonna hurt it. She's a good mama. She's just learning.
She can bite with a force of nearly 500 kilos, but this requires the gentlest touch. Tigers usually have 2 or 3 cubs. 4 are quite a handful, and these already seem more challenging than most.
Look at that poor mama hasn't finished rescuing one when another one goes tumbling down.
Is usually equal. True to form, 2 of these cubs are male and 2 are female. It will be rare indeed for all 4 of them to reach maturity. Many dangers lie ahead. At this size, they make a snack for even the smallest predator. Their mother must make sure that everyone is accounted for. With 2 back in the den and 1 on its way, there's only 1 straggler left to worry about. The cub's contact cry makes sure he's not forgotten. As long as the cubs call, their mother is compelled to keep retrieving them, but this would try any mother's patience. The young cub's life is very precarious. Had the mother been away hunting at a moment like this, the outcome could have been very different. She's clearly going to be a devoted mother, but she still has a lot to learn. This is not the way to do it.
Look at she's carrying him by his leg. Apparently it's not easy to carry a wriggling baby tiger cub, huh?
Filming such behavior is unprecedented. It gives us an extraordinary opportunity to follow these cubs as they grow.
Okay, so don't tell me that that was not one of the most awesome videos you have ever seen. I love that video. I thought it was so funny. I was laughing pretty hard at that one. That mama's trying so hard to take care of those little cubs, and they are just insisting on being annoying little creatures that run all over the place. She couldn't pick that one up. He was like a little wet wiggly worm or something. She had to carry him by his legs. Hilarious. So, okay, now we're going to go back to bugs, but wait until you see this bug. I guarantee you, maybe you've seen a video of this because the internet is an amazing place and you can see a lot of stuff, but you've never seen anything like this in real life. This is another one. You might have noticed the narrator, the man who was doing the talking in that tiger video, had a British accent. His name is David Attenborough, and he is a very famous narrator. He works for the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, an English company that puts out a lot of TV shows and videos and movies. So you've probably heard him before. In this video, you can tell is kind of older. He looks a lot younger than he is now. It's really interesting, and just wait until the very last 5 seconds. You are going to be grossed out, and yet it's kind of cool.
In the lush forests of the tropics, where flowers bloom throughout the year, animals that feed on nectar can always find a drink somewhere. But in other parts of the world, where perhaps the winters are bitterly cold, or here in the parched deserts of Australia, where flowers only bloom after brief rains, animals that rely on nectar have to have some way of storing it to last them through the hard times. These mulga trees produce nectar on which ants feed, and they have the most extraordinary larders. The galleries of their nests lie 4 feet or so below the surface of the ground. These golden globes hanging from the roof are their storage pots, full of honey. Each one is alive, an ant with an abdomen expanded to the size of a grape. The small dark flecks are the hard plates which protect the body of a normal-sized ant. It's the membrane between them that is stretched. These bloated individuals are almost totally inactive, so they consume very little of the honey that they hold. It is drunk by the busy workers, who, when there's little food to be found above ground, come down here and induce the honeypots to regurgitate it. The workers also tend the swollen bodies, keeping them well groomed and clean. During the good times, the workers collect all the nectar they can and take it down to the larders to top up the colony's storage jars by feeding it to them, drop by drop. The people who've roamed these deserts for millennia, the Aborigines, have always valued these ants as one of their few sources of sugar, and they eat them just as they are. It's liquid, warm, and marvelously sweet.
There you go. That was the part I was telling you about. So, pretty funky there, huh? Would you pick up one of those little ants and hold it by its face and pop that little ball of honey into your mouth? Yeah, I wouldn't either. Yuck. But interesting. Some things are yuck and some things are interesting. But after that little kind of icky thing, and with the question of would you eat honey out of an ant's basically butt, let's look at something else that likes to eat honey. Have you ever heard that bears like to eat honey and wondered if it's really true? If you ever watched Winnie the Pooh when you were a little kid, you might have seen Winnie the Pooh was always after honey. Well, here's a little video that some tourists took while they were out in the woods looking for bears, and I think it answers that question. I'm going to turn the sound down because all they're doing is kind of talking about it, so I'll just talk about it instead. But look at this bear. It looks like a little bit of a smaller bear. It could be a grown-up, but kind of a small grown-up, or maybe more likely a teenager. It climbed this there, you can see it. You see that big white ball right by its back legs there? So it climbed this skinny tree because it saw a beehive in the tree, and it wanted it. So it chewed at the branch until the top half of the tree broke off, and now it slid down the tree with its captured beehive. Isn't that just crazy? And now it is eating the beehive. And I'm sure it doesn't like the actual hive. It's in there getting the honey. Isn't that crazy? So do bears really like honey? So much that they'll climb up a skinny little scary looking tree and actually chew the tree in half so that they can get to that honey beehive. Crazy, right? So there you go. Bear eating honey. I thought that one was so fun. Okay, so I have one more bug video, and then your last two final non-bug fun bonus videos. Are you ready? This is a creepy one. This bug we're going to talk about now, let me tell you a little bit about him first. Oh, you know what? I've been forgetting to show you my pictures. Hold on a second here. Let me pull up some pictures. Here's my entomology picture. That's a cute picture of bugs, right? It made him look all rainbowy and fun. Here's that honeypot ant. Look at that big, huge, round body. Isn't it crazy? That's for something else. This is a orchid mantis. It is a deadly-looking mantis that looks like an orchid flower. And it's really cool. I'm not going to play that video in class, but I put a video about it in as a bonus at the end of class. If you want to click on it, you can. Okay, this is the assassin bug. The assassin beetle or assassin bug. We are going to talk about this one. It's our last bug we're covering today. Let me pull up my notes. I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. Okay. The assassin bug carries around dead carcasses of ants on its back like a backpack to protect it from predators, and it works. These dead ant backpack-wearing assassin bugs are less likely to be eaten by jumping spiders than those that don't have this creepy dead accessory on their backs. They think that the spiders only see the mound of ants and don't realize that there's a tasty bug hiding underneath. It also uses this disguise to sneak into ant burrows and attack. Yeah, pretty crazy. So here we go. Let us watch a video about this assassin bug. And it is again narrated by David Attenborough, the nice British man from the BBC.
An assassin bug. To us, it's easy enough to spot because it moves. To its prey, that's irrelevant because it smells like one of their number. The assassin sucks its victims dry and glues their empty husks onto its back. This one is already carrying at least 20 corpses. Its irregular shape makes it hard for other predators to spot it, and makes it virtually invisible to its prey, ants. It enters this ant colony unchallenged. Its coat of ant corpses masks its own odor. To the ants, it smells like one of their own, and that's what matters. They'll even run straight over the top of it. The assassin simply takes an ant whenever it feels hungry. And the body of each victim then adds to its disguise.
Now, aren't you glad that those are smaller than your pinky fingernail? Because, yeah, I would not want to see a giant one of those. Creepy. So there you go. That was our bug class for today. I hope that you guys thought that it was interesting, even if bugs aren't your favorite thing. They are super important. And it is really interesting, I think, to see all of the different crazy insects that nature has created. If you want to see a couple more, I have some more videos listed for you. The links to them are in the comments of this video, so just ask your parents if it's okay for you to watch some of those links. So right now you're watching this video. Underneath it is an area I'm gonna show you right now so you can see what I'm talking about. See how there's a video? This is not my video, but the video we just watched. See how if you scroll down a little bit, right here it says, I'm sorry, right here is the description. Right here it says Smithsonian Channel in the description, and then it says show more. That's where I put all of the videos. So go to the video that you're watching right now that is me talking, and look for, you'll see the name of my channel, and then under that it'll say show more. Click it, and I've listed all of the videos that I played in this class, and then underneath that I listed other videos that you might find interesting. So when we're done with this last video, check that out. So here we go. Now we are going to move away from bugs, and for absolutely no reason, we are going to talk about, well, actually there is some reason. We are going to talk about why do zebras have stripes. I read about this in a magazine that I get, and I thought it was super interesting, so I went and found a video on it. And in a way, zebras having stripes is similar to that assassin bug. Assassin bugs pile all those dead bugs on them so that they can basically hide and be sneaky. Well, wait until you see why zebras have stripes. And it's not just so that they look beautiful and unique. So ready?
Looking into an animal mystery. We were looking through our big book of animals, and the last animal in the book caught our eye. It's a zebra. You've probably heard of them before. They look a lot like horses, but they have black and white stripes. Have you ever wondered why zebras have these special stripes? To find out, let's look a little closer at the life of a zebra. Zebras are closely related to horses, and they're a lot like them in many ways. They look a lot like horses, of course, and they run like them too, and they also eat grass like horses do. But zebras are also different from horses in some important ways. For one thing, horses can be found in many parts of the world, but wild zebras only live in Africa. Zebras also have hair on the back of their neck called a mane that's shorter and spikier than it is on horses. And of course, horses come in many different colors and patterns, but all zebras wear a coat of black and white stripes. But still, not all zebras are exactly the same. There are actually 3 different species or special types of zebra. 2 of these species are named after the kind of place they live in. The plain zebra lives on the plains, where it's mostly flat and there's lots of grass and other plants to eat. Then there's the mountain zebra, which lives, you guessed it, in the mountains. The last species is called the grevy zebra, and it only lives in a few special grasslands in Africa. But all types of zebras have their famous stripes, and scientists have always wondered what these stripes were for. And this is what we're curious about today. Let's look at a few ideas about how these stripes might help zebras to survive in the wild. Some scientists used to think that zebras could use their stripes to recognize each other. It turns out that each zebra has a unique pattern of stripes, just like how every person, including you, has a unique set of fingerprints on their fingertips. Maybe by looking at each other's stripes, zebras could recognize each other and their families. But you don't recognize your friends by looking at their fingerprints, so we're not sure that zebras use their stripes that way either. After all, zebras have many other ways to recognize each other, like by their smell or by the sounds they make. So scientists have also thought that zebras might use their stripes to hide from predators. Lions and hyenas are 2 predators that often hunt zebras, so some have thought that the zebra's long stripes might help them stay hidden in the tall grass. But after looking closer, scientists noticed that the zebra's stripes didn't stop lions and hyenas from finding them. Instead, the predators used their noses to find the zebras by smell. They weren't fooled by the zebra's stripes at all. So maybe the stripes do something else. And there's one other animal that zebras need to keep away. Horseflies. Horseflies are big, pesky, biting flies, and they often bite animals like zebras, kind of like how mosquitoes bite people. But scientists have noticed that horseflies don't seem to like zebra stripes. Something about the pattern of the black and white stripes makes horseflies confused, so they stay away from them. So maybe that's it. Today, some scientists think that the stripes help zebras avoid getting bitten by horseflies. The stripes might work kind of like a built-in bug repellent. In fact, it turns out that zebras have the most stripes in places they really don't want horseflies to bite them, like on their faces. And many people have started using the answer to this animal mystery to help protect horses, too. Some farmers have started putting zebra-striped coats on their horses to keep the horseflies away. What an amazing way to use what we've learned to help our animal friends. It's important to remember that there could be more than one right answer to a question, especially when you're dealing with nature and science. So scientists are still looking at all the other things that stripes might help a zebra to do. Maybe you have some good ideas about what these stripes could do. If you do, ask a grown-up to help you leave your ideas below, or send us an email to kids@scishow.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time here at the fort.
So there you go. Is that really interesting or what? That zebra stripes might be to help keep bugs off of them. Thought that was really, really cool. So related to bugs, right? It's about keeping bugs off of them. So there you go. I hope that you guys have enjoyed our bug lesson for today and learning about it. So I mentioned earlier that one of the videos that I put in the list is why do these deadly insects look like flowers? It is a pretty cool video about the orchid mantis. I suggest you watch that if you have time, and I'm guessing that you do have time, but you could do it later. I put a few videos in there that you might like to watch. So when you get a chance, ask your parents if it's okay for you to click on some of those videos and watch. And I also wanted to remind you that last week if you haven't watched last week's lesson, watch it. I don't want to spoil what it was. I assume you watched it or you wouldn't be watching this one. But last week we covered a certain kind of creature, and I suggested that I gave you a picture to draw, and I asked you to have your parents text or email it to me. Do that. Draw your picture if you want to and have your parents text or email it to me. I'm going to put it in the presentation one of these times so that everybody can see it. So today also, if you would like to draw a picture of any of the creatures that we talked about today, whether it's a bug or a tiger or a zebra, whatever you want, draw that picture or even do a craft about it and have your parents email it to me or text it to me, a picture of it, and I'm going to put it in next week's class. So I thought that would be a fun way for all of us to be sharing what we're drawing or doing or making. Even if you have, if you want to write a little bit of a story about a time that you interacted with one of these animals, or have your parents send me like a 20-second video of you talking about, I don't know, the time you got stung by a bee or whatever you want, something that has to do with bugs or one of the animals we talked about today, send it over and I will put it in class next week, and we'll have this fun little thing where you can all see each other talking about different animals. So I hope that you had a good time in class. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the videos I'm giving to you, and I hope that you all have a fantastic week. See you soon. Stay kooky.